The drone didn't blink. It couldn't. It had no eyes, just sensors, mapping every heartbeat, every vibration in the ground, every chemical change in the air. It hovered high above the ruins of the burned-out cliff, watching the smoke rise like a wound on Earth's surface. It saw what no other machine had reported before. Resistance, not just survival, defiance. Luma sat by the stream again, but this time, she wasn't staring at her reflection. She was cleaning. Eric's blade with a steady hand. Her movements were practiced now, not clumsy like the first time. She had learned not just how to hide, but how to fight. Eric stood on a stone ridge nearby, hammering the last piece of armor into place. It wasn't alien armor anymore. Not really. It had been stripped, broken down, bent to fit a new shape, one made for Earth hands and Earth minds. The chest plate bore a mark now, not a symbol from the stars, but a rough carving of a mountain peak. Not Fear Foundation. They're not sending soldiers anymore, Luma said, her voice calm. They're watching. I know, Eric replied. Still working. They're learning us. Let them. She stood, walking over. You think they'll stop? He looked up at the sky, where the drone floated like a tiny black seed against the clouds. No, but they'll hesitate. For a long moment, neither spoke. The forest was quiet again. Not from fear this time, but from awe. It had seen what 2 hands, a pile of stones, and a wounded alien girl could do. Far beyond Earth's atmosphere. The drone's signal pulsed through cold vacuum. It reached a fleet hidden in shadow ships shaped like daggers, orbiting silent moons. Commanders reviewed the data. They saw the broken mech, the fallen soldiers, the burning forest on. Then they saw the girl. She stood beside the human now. Her glow returned, her posture no longer small. She wasn't hiding anymore. They marked her not as an escapee, but as a threat. And Eric, they didn't understand. No weapons, no machines, no army. Just one man with stone and time back on Earth. Eric placed the last rock into the wall of the new structure, taller than the first, stronger, shaped with care. A home, yes, but also a fortress. A message written, without words. Luma stood at the doorway. They'll come back. Eric nodded. Good, why? He picked up a stone from the ground, tossed it once in his hand. Because they haven't seen everything yet. She looked down at the earth beneath her feet, and for the first time, she smiled. Not because she was safe, but because she was ready. Far above, the drone turned once in the sky, then fled. Not from fear, from understanding, because sometimes, the strongest signal in the universe is silence backed by stone. And Earth had just spoken. Smoke drifted through the trees like a ghost that didn't know where to rest. The second elite was gone, now buried under branches, armor crushed and silent. The forest had begun to breathe again, but it wasn't peace. It was the deep breath before something worse. Luma stood by the stream, staring at her own reflection. She didn't look like the girl who had crashed here. Her glow was dimmer, her body thinner, but something else had changed too. She wasn't just hiding anymore. Behind her, Eric was sharpening a stone blade on a flat slab, the sound steady, like a slow drum. Every movement he made was focused, quiet, and sure. Luma turned. They won't stop. I know, he said. You don't understand, she said, stepping closer. That one wasn't a soldier, that was a hunter. The next one won't be alone. Eric didn't look up. Then I won't be either. She looked around. You have no one. I have you. That stopped her for a moment. Before she could speak, a new sound reached them. Low, mechanical. It didn't come from the ground, but from above. Luma's heart dropped before her mind understood it. She looked up. In the sky, a sharp black triangle cut through the clouds. No lights, no trail, just shape, silent and massive. A dropship. It didn't land nearby. It hovered. And then, from beneath it, 3 figures dropped, without parachutes, without sound, without fear. They fell fast, hit the earth, and stood up as if gravity meant nothing. Elite soldiers. Not just trackers now. Warriors. Eric stood and slung a rope of sharpened bones over his shoulder. Get inside. No, Luma said. We can't stay. They'll surround the hut. They'll try. He moved to the edge of the clearing, eyes focused, hands steady. The slingshot trap was still there, but the boulder was gone. 1 shot, 1 kill. That trick wouldn't work twice. Luma followed him. We can't fight them all. Then we won't. He pointed toward the slope behind the hut, where large rocks jutted from the ground like broken teeth. We moved the fight. Within minutes, they were up the hill. Eric led her through narrow paths only he knew. He had lived with the stones. He knew how they sat, how they rolled, how they fell. When the first elite reached the hut, it found no one. Just fire, ash, and stone walls. But as the second and third moved forward, something shifted above. A small rock tumbled down the slope, then another, and then the hill roared. Massive slabs of stone stacked by Eric days before, hidden beneath ferns, rushed down like angry thunder. A natural trap. A stone avalanche. 1 elite was crushed instantly. The second was thrown back, armor cracked. The third leaped aside, but as it landed, a blade of bone slashed from the shadows, fast and precise. Eric followed the motion, stepping in, twisting, using the alien's own weight to bring it down. Luma watched from above, her heart pounding. She had no weapon, but she wasn't afraid now. She picked up a jagged rock and moved toward the last standing soldier. The elite stood, towering over her, its mask lit with red light. It aimed a pulse cannon at her chest. She threw the rock. It hit the weapon just enough. The blast missed, hit a tree. Fire erupted. Arik charged in, a clean strike. Then there was silence. 3 elite bodies lay still beneath the trees. Luma dropped to her knees, breathing hard. Arik knelt beside her. "You okay?" She nodded. "I think I just helped you did." They sat there for a moment, surrounded by fallen stone and broken metal. Luma looked around. "What if more come?" Arik looked at the fire in the distance. "Then we give them the same welcome." But even as he said it, something in the air changed again. High above, the dropship remained, still watching. It hadn't dropped its full weight yet. Not even close. The trees no longer moved. Not with the wind. Not with the breath of the earth. Not even with the passing of night. They stood like statues, waiting for something they didn't want to see. Luma stood at the edge of the ridge, her eyes locked on the sky. The dropship hadn't moved. It floated like a silent promise, not of rescue, but of ruin. She had seen ships like that before, back when her world still had cities, when her people still had names and not just memories. Those ships never came to speak, they came to finish. Behind her, Arik was dragging the armor from the 3rd elite body across the stones. His movements were slower now, not from fear, but from thought. He was building again, not traps this time, something else. Something with shape and silence. Luma walked toward him. "You're not resting. Rest comes after." After what? He stopped, looked up. After fire meets stone. She didn't know what he meant. Not yet. He lifted the alien armor and began cutting it with one of his bone blades. Sparks jumped. The metal was thick, but even it could not hold forever against stone and stubborn hands. Inside the dropship, the pilot watched without expression. The previous squads had failed. That was recorded, measured, and marked. But now the ship was preparing for something final. A single strike team was not enough. It opened its lower deck. From inside came something heavier, a mech. Not just a soldier in armor, a walking tank, 12 feet tall, armed with twin cannons and a reinforced core. No thoughts, no mercy, just programming. It dropped into the forest like a meteor. The ground cracked beneath its landing. Arik felt it before he heard it. He looked toward the forest. "It's different this time." Luma stepped beside him. "You're not going to win with stones now." Arik stood slowly. "I'm not planning to throw them." He led her to a place deeper in the forest, a cliffside hollowed out by rain and time. Inside it, Arik had stacked barrels filled with oil, dry leaves, and thick tree sap. Above it hung logs, cut and tied, held in place by thin vines. It wasn't just a trap. It was a furnace. "You've been planning this," she said. "I planned for the worst. Then I shaped the rocks to fit it." Below the cliff, the mech came into view. It moved with a weight of thunder. Trees snapped under its steps. Its face had no eyes, just a burning line of red. Luma felt her knees weaken. That's not a soldier. That's extinction. Arik picked up a long wooden torch. "Then it dies first." He signaled her to climb above. She obeyed, fast but shaky. The mech scanned the forest. It detected movement, temperature shifts, pulse readings. It locked on. Fired. The trees beside Arik exploded into flame. He ran toward the trap. The mech followed. Step by step, steady and sure, Luma reached the top of the cliff. She waited beside a lever, one carved from wood, tied to vines, hidden in moss. Arik sprinted beneath her, sliding behind the logs. The mech stepped directly into the hollow. "Now," he shouted. Luma pulled the lever. The logs dropped. The oil barrels cracked open. The dry sap exploded into fire. The cliff became an inferno. The mech screamed not with voice but with systems. Its armor melted unevenly. Its joints locked. One cannon exploded from internal heat. Arik threw a stone axe at its exposed side. The weapon dug into a glowing panel. Sparks flew again. The mech took one step, then collapsed. It didn't move again when the flames died. The cliff was quiet. Luma climbed down slowly, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You burned it," she said. "You burned metal." Arik picked up a handful of blackened earth, let it fall through his fingers. Fire speaks louder than steel. For the first time since her crash, Luma didn't feel like prey. She felt like something else, like part of the mountain, like a warning, but high above them. The dropship didn't retreat. It released something smaller. A drone. It didn't carry weapons. It carried a signal, and that signal was no longer tracking Luma. Aid was scanning Earth. The forest had changed. That no longer whispered. It listened. The wind moved slower, careful not to disturb what now hunted beneath the trees. Even the birds had gone silent, their songs stolen by the quiet weight of something unnatural. Luma couldn't sleep. She sat by the low fire, legs pulled close to her chest, eyes on the small stone window Arik had built that morning. The warmth from the fire did nothing to calm the cold she felt inside. That cold wasn't from fear, it was memory. She remembered her planet, glowing cities, silver towers, and skies that never turned black. She remembered the silence that came before the attack, and the sound that followed, a deep pulse. Like a heartbeat made of thunder, that sound still echoed in her mind. Behind her, Arik slept. Not deeply, but enough. His hand rested near a rock blade, one he had shaped earlier with nothing but fire and patience. He trusted no one, not even sleep. Outside, under the cover of thick trees, the elite alien crouched in the dark. It had followed Luma's trail for 2 days. Now it had eyes on the small stone shelter. Its armor shimmered slightly as it moved. Between shadows in its hand, it carried a needle-thin weapon, silent, deadly. One shot could paralyze a small ship. It raised the weapon toward the window. Inside, Luma stood suddenly. Her breath caught. Something was wrong. Something was watching. The alien adjusted its aim, then a sharp whistle cut the night. A rope snapped from a nearby tree and yanked the alien backward into the air. It swung hard into a branch, crashing against bark with a loud crack. The weapon flew from its hand, landing silently in the dirt. Arik stepped from the shadows of his own trap. A counterweight made of stone rolled to a stop behind him. He didn't smile, didn't speak. He walked over and stared at the alien hanging upside down, tangled in vines and rope. Luma came running. Her eyes widened when she saw the black armor. She knew exactly what it was. Elite guard, she whispered. They never come alone. The alien struggled, reaching toward a panel on its wrist. Arik didn't wait. He grabbed a stone club from his belt and smashed the wrist device before the alien could touch it. Sparks flew. The alien growled in a strange language. Luma stepped forward. He was sending a signal. Arik turned to her. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked up at the sky, where no stars seemed to shine now. Only clouds, thick, silent. I don't know who's left, but if they hear it, they'll come. Her voice was thin, tired, and they won't ask questions like you did. Arik stared at the alien, still twisting in the trap. Then he looked at the weapon on the ground. He picked it up, turned it over in his hands. It was too smooth, too perfect. He didn't like it. He tossed it into the fire. The flames fled blue, then purple, then returned to orange. Luma blinked. That was alien tech. Arik only shrugged. I like stones better. She didn't smile, but she almost did. By sunrise, the alien was gone, dragged deep into the forest, far from the hut. Arik never said what he did with it. Luma didn't ask. Instead, she helped him stack thicker stones around the doorway. You're building again, she said. Double quotes, yes. For who? For what's coming. Luma paused. You don't know what's coming. Arik pressed a stone into place. No, but you do. She looked at him for a long time, then finally nodded. They won't stop. Then neither will we. For the first time, Luma felt the ground beneath her feet as something more than just dirt. It felt like protection, like strength, like home, even if it wasn't her planet. Not yet. Asterisk. The sky was darker than usual, heavy with clouds that refused to move. The forest held its breath. Not even the wind dared to pass through the tall trees. Arik stood in silence, staring at the wide boulder that rested near the stream. It was massive, shaped by time and pressure. Most would see it as just a rock, but Arik saw a tool, maybe even a weapon. Behind him, Luma watched carefully. Her silver-blue skin had started to fade into pale gray, signs of exhaustion, fear, and something deeper. She hadn't spoken much since the night of the trap, since the elite guard had fallen into Arik's vines and ropes like a fool. She knew better than to celebrate. One elite never came alone. Arik bent down, brushing moss from the base of the boulder. He didn't smile, didn't speak, just ran his hands across its surface like he was listening to it. Then he stood, took 3 steps back, and looked around at the trees. He began collecting vines. Luma tilted her head. You're making another trap. No, he said. A message. She stepped closer, unsure what that meant. A message to who? To whatever follows. By midday, Arik had built something strange. The boulder now sat inside a handmade frame of thick branches and tension ropes. Nearby, trees had been bent and tied down, turned into natural springs of force. He worked silently, his hands fast, his eyes steady. Luma didn't understand the full design, but she recognized one thing. Force. This wasn't a trap, it was a slingshot. A giant one. You're going to throw a rock, she said slowly, confused. At another elite, Arik looked up at her. Not just any rock. She walked around it. The boulder looked almost alive, now balanced, dangerous, waiting. You can't win against them, she said, voice thin. They have armor, weapons, tech, training. Arik kept working. They bleed. Luma paused. Yes, then I can win. She didn't reply. Not because she disagreed, but because, for the first time, she wondered if he might be right. Far above them, miles beyond the forest, the second elite ship entered Earth's atmosphere. This one was faster, colder, meaner. Its pilot was not tracking Luma's signal. He was tracking the first elite's silence. He landed without sound, just like the other, but he didn't move like the other. There was no scanning, no delay. This one came to kill. Night fell again, and the forest changed. No crickets, no owls, only breath. Arik lit no fire. He sat in silence, hands wrapped in leather rope, boulder trap ready. Luma sat beside him, no longer just a visitor, no longer just lost. Now she waited too. The second elite arrived just after midnight. He didn't waste time. He moved fast, bursting through the trees, laser blade already in hand. The moment he reached the clearing, his eyes locked on the hut, and then something shifted in the trees. A vine snapped. The giant boulder flew from its sling with impossible speed. The alien turned too late. The boulder hit him directly in the chest. The sound was thunder without warning. Metal cracked. Trees shook. The elite's body was thrown backward like a toy. He rolled twice, then lay still. Smoke rose from the crushed armor. Arik didn't move. He stood at the edge of the trap, watching. Luma came out slowly, eyes wide. You hit him. Arik nodded. Didn't miss. They walked toward the broken alien together. The armor was bent inward. Sparks jumped from the chest. A soft hissing came from the helmet. The elite was still alive, barely. Arik leaned down. You followed the wrong girl, he said quietly. The elite didn't respond. Its systems were shutting down. Luma stared at the broken machine that once hunted her. She couldn't stop shaking. You killed him with a rock, she whispered. Arik stood up. Not just a rock, a reminder of what? He looked at the stars through the tree. Line that Earth isn't quiet because it's weak. It's quiet because we're listening. And now, the stars would start listening too. The night was quiet. Stars filled the sky. But suddenly one star moved too fast. It was not a star. It was something else, something falling. It burned bright, then crashed deep into the forest with a loud boom. Trees shook. Birds flew away in fear. In the forest, all was dark and cold. Smoke rose from a small crater. Inside the crater, a strange pod was broken open. From it, a young alien girl slowly climbed out. Her skin was silver blue. Her eyes were large and glowing. She looked around, scared and tired. Her name was Luma. Luma fell to her knees. Her legs were weak. Her clothes were torn. She held a small device in her hand. It was broken too. She looked up at the sky, searching for help, but no ship was coming. She was alone. Far away, a man was cutting wood near his stone hut. His name was Eric. He lived alone near the edge of the forest. He didn't like cities or noise. He liked peace and nature. His hut was made from rocks and wood, all built by his own hands. Suddenly he heard the crash. He looked toward the trees, frowning. That was no thunder, he said softly. He picked up his tools and walked toward the sound. Back at the crash site, Luma was hiding behind trees. She could hear strange animals in the forest. She was from another world. Earth was not safe for her. She had no friends here, no home, no family, only fear. She started walking. Her steps were slow. She followed the smell of firewood. She needed warmth. She needed shelter. Soon, she saw a small stone hut. Smoke came from the chimney. She hid behind a tree and watched. Arik was boiling water over a fire. His face looked rough but calm. He sat on a rock and drank from a wooden cup. Then he looked around. He felt something, like he was being watched. He stood up slowly, picked up a wooden spear. Who's there? He called out. Luma quickly hid behind a bigger tree. She held her breath. Arik walked outside. The forest was silent again. He looked around, then sighed. Maybe just an animal, he said. Luma watched him from the shadows. She saw how he used stones to cook, how he carved things from wood. She had never seen a human before. She had always heard they were dangerous, but this one didn't look dangerous. Suddenly her foot slipped. A small branch cracked under her shoe. Arik turned fast. Hey, who's there? Luma panicked. She ran, but she was too weak. She tripped and fell. Her body hit the ground hard. Arik rushed forward, thinking it was a lost animal or child. But when he reached the spot, he stopped. His eyes widened. Luma lay on the ground. Her skin shined in the moonlight. Her eyes blinked slowly. She looked not human. Arik dropped his spear. He didn't move closer. What are you? He whispered. Luma looked at him. Her voice was soft and broken. Help me. There was silence. Then, Arik stepped forward. He saw the pain in her eyes. She was just a child, lost, scared, hurt. He picked her up gently and took her inside. Inside the hut, he placed her near the fire. He covered her with a blanket. Luma shivered. Arik gave her warm water to drink. She looked at him with confusion. Where are you from? He asked. She looked at the stars through the small window. Not here, she said. Arik didn't ask more questions. He just nodded. You can rest here. You're safe now. But outside the forest, deep in space, something else was moving. A ship flew toward Earth. Inside, a dark figure stared at a blinking screen. It showed a red dot. Luma's signal. The figure pressed a button. Target found, preparing for capture. Back in the hut, Luma finally slept. Her breathing was slow and calm. Arik sat nearby, sharpening a stone tool. He didn't know who she was, or why she had fallen from the stars. But he knew one thing: she needed help. And he was going to protect her no matter what was coming. The sun rose slowly over the forest, touching the treetops with golden light. A soft wind moved through the leaves. Birds began to sing. Inside the small stone hut, the fire had turned to quiet ash. Luma opened her eyes. She sat up fast, breathing heavily. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Her body was sore, and her mind still full of fear. But then she felt the warmth of the blanket, the smooth shape of the stone walls, the smell of wood smoke and boiling water. She was safe, at least for now. Across the room, Arik stood near a pile of flat rocks. He was lifting one, checking it, then placing it in a strange shape on the ground. He didn't notice she was awake. His hands moved with skill, stacking, turning, balancing. He was building something. Luma watched quietly. She had never seen a human up close before yesterday. On her planet, humans were spoken of as violent, wild, unpredictable. But this one was calm, focused. She tried to stand, but her leg gave out. She fell with a small thud. Arik turned at once. "You're up." Luma looked down, embarrassed. He walked over and helped her sit back down. She tensed up when he touched her, expecting pain or harm. But he was gentle. "Careful, I made soup," he said. "It's not from your world, but it's warm." She stared at the bowl. It smelled strange, but not bad. She nodded. He sat beside her as she ate slowly. After a moment she finally spoke. "You live here alone, yes? Why?" Arik looked at the trees through a hole in the wall. "People are noisy, rocks are quiet." She didn't understand, but somehow she did. Outside the forest was waking up, but something new was also entering it. Far from the hut, near the crash site, a tall black shape moved between trees. No sound, no smell, a living shadow. The elite alien had landed. It stood near the broken pod and scanned the area. A soft beep came from its helmet. It had found Luma's trail. Back in the hut, Arik was still building. He took the flat rocks he had been collecting and placed them in a circle. Then he built upward, stone by stone, using small bits of clay to hold them together. Luma watched him, confused. "What are you doing?" "Building something stronger than a tent," he said. "You're not going anywhere soon." "You're using rocks?" she asked. "Why not machines?" He smiled a little. "Machines break, stones don't." She tilted her head, studying him. On her world, technology was everything. Power came from energy cores, flying vehicles, force shields. Here this man was building shelter with nothing but earth and hands. It was strange, it was impressive, and it was kind. Later that day, Luma walked outside, slowly leaning on a stick. The sky was blue and wide. The wind felt clean. She looked around. The crash site was far now, maybe too far. She hoped the tracker had broken. She hoped they wouldn't find her. She hoped wronged on in the trees far behind. A figure was watching. Still, silent. That night, Arik lit a fire again. Luma sat closer to it, her eyes tired. He offered her a strange round fruit. "Where did you fall from?" he asked gently. Luma looked into the fire. "My planet is gone." Arik didn't speak. He didn't ask more, just sat beside her. She looked at him. "Why are you helping me?" He didn't answer at first. Then he said, "Because you needed help." No one had ever said that to her before, not even on her own world. Suddenly, a loud sound broke the quiet. Both of them turned. A branch snapped outside the hut. Arik grabbed his wooden spear. His eyes scanned the darkness. Luma felt her heart race. "They found me," she whispered. Arik stepped outside slowly. The night was thick, cold. The stars watched from above. He saw nothing, heard nothing, but something was close. Something not human. He stepped back in, locking the wooden door. "We need stronger walls," he said, and outside, the shadow waited. Tomorrow, it would strike.